We're thinking about the creator economy. It seems like there was a boom during the pandemic. A lot of it based on people being alone and having technology and a bunch of people sitting around consuming what people are making. So it seemed like podcasts, TikToks, all sorts of things were getting more engagement. I'm curious from your perspective, like it seems like we're getting close, if not already in a recession. What do you see the creator economy looking like? What do you think the effect is going to be in this next sort of economic downturn?
Yeah, I think the pandemic is ongoing, and that's also still exacerbating a lot of these economic issues, actually, that we sort of are not acknowledging. I think that the economic downturn broadly, though, is going to be very negative for creators. I was talking to someone at Patreon recently about just subscription revenue and how hard it is during downtimes to maintain subscription revenue because it's like one of the first things that people cut. This is why you see companies like Netflix and these other big subscription businesses hedging, rolling out ad tier versions and things like that, because it's really easy to be someone's line item on an expense sheet, right? Like not everyone can afford $700 worth of subscriptions. So I have thought about it kind of a lot in terms of how I've built my business model, because I've only been independent for about 5 or 6, almost 6 months, but not very long. And I'm way too over reliant on subscriptions right now. So I'm trying to build out other revenue streams because I know that, especially my audience, which my audience is like primarily younger people and not high income people, they're going to just cut my $7 a month off if they lose their job and stuff like that. So I think it's going to be a hard time for creators, especially ones that rely on subscription, which is a lot of creators, because especially a lot of independent creators, they can't really piece together enough from brand deals. And if a recession hits too, like shows get canceled, like opportunities don't come as often. It's just harder.
I want to talk about a piece you wrote recently that I think slots in here. Your newsletter is on Substack, and you wrote about that because it's the shift between the subscribe and the follow. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Substack rolled out this feature, I don't even know when it was now, maybe 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, called the follow button. And basically people can follow you now on Substack within the app, but they don't have to subscribe to you or get your email. Like they don't have to give you their email address. Like they're just following you on the app. And they don't get your newsletter in their inbox, but they follow you and they can read your content in the app. It's a way to push people to read more content in the app. And this is a broader problem with Substack right now, where they're really pushing people to use the app and to consume in the app, as opposed to allowing creators to develop a direct relationship with their audience. So I have like 140,000 followers or something on Substack, but I only have 78,000 subscribers. And a lot of people who follow me think they subscribe.
Wow.
But they don't. They're just consuming my content in the app.
And I think the key for me, when I think about why I left Substack, which was partially because the Nazis, although
there's Nazis on every platform.
I really want to emphasize that everybody makes the decisions that they can, right? Like I have a very small newsletter, so it really like wasn't any problem for me to leave,
But Anna, I just want to say something about that. Like there are no other platforms that offer the same functionality as Substack right now, period.
I agree.
And that's so
frustrating.
But I do not fuck with the Nazi stuff either, just to be clear.
I understand why people are on it. Like this is not a moral question for me in terms of like, you're a bad person if you're on Substack. Like it's part of the calculus that I did. But again, like for me, it was a relatively easy decision because that's not a huge place that I get a lot of income. I get some, and Button Down allows you to move over your subscriptions. We don't have to talk about the nuts and bolts of newsletters, although maybe we should do an episode about that since it is a thing that everyone's doing. But one of the reasons why I left was the fact that it's all going to the app, which means if the app disappears, if they get sold, if something happens, and you're stuck in a follower metric, you can't take those people with you.
Yeah, exactly.
That you're stuck. And also it is another way in which we're moving away from what I think at least older folks like me still think of as a social media being, which is that you fall in love with a creator, right? And you want to support the creator. that that's not how social media really works anymore, right?
Yeah, I think I
It's the
interviewed Jack.
algorithm. It's not
Exactly.
it's not
algorithmic
like
feeds.
fall in love with a creator and you're like, I want to just consume what they put out. Maybe not everything, right? But
it's the death of the follower model, right? Like it used to, and in one sense, it's actually better for users. It's just worse for creators. From a user standpoint, it's a huge burden to find content you like, go subscribe to someone, then you get all of their content when maybe you only like one type of their content. So it's actually a really poor, like subscription and follower feeds were never a good content delivery mechanism for creators in some ways, or sorry, for users to receive content. For creators, they were good because you could count on your followers always seeing your content. Now that we've moved to algorithmic feeds, you're right, that relationship has been broken. And I think that's also why you see things like on TikTok creators who are so defined by algorithmic feeds don't have that same, they're not able to build those tight bonds with their audience the way that YouTubers can. When TikTok took over VidCon a couple years ago and sponsored VidCon for the first time ever, their content creators could not even fill up the meet and greet lines because people just don't have the same tight relationship with creators on very algorithmic defined platforms. So it's a huge problem and it makes me so nervous. And by the way, I'm probably going to be on Patreon too soon, but like Patreon has the same problem. It's a locked universe kind of, you know. I think all these platforms, they want to gatekeep and create these walled gardens and we're losing the open web. Like websites, right? Like emails, like RSS feeds, even things like Spotify. I publish my podcast on Spotify and I'm in Spotify's creators program. But, you know, it's like you can only consume the video content on, we're moving further and further away from RSS, basically.